Okay, so we're going to talk about stage 2. So you remember this is also done in practice, in your practice, but with a new assessor, different assessor. And they're booked centrally by the college. And this is done in response to the report completion by the stage 1 assessor. So every time the assessor comes to fill in an assessment report from visit 3 onwards, the stage 1 assessor is asked to say, will your trainee be ready for a stage 2 after the next assessment visit? And if they feel that the answer is yes, one more assessment visit, this trainee will be ready for a stage 2, then they tick the box yes, and a stage 2 visit gets booked 5 to 7 weeks after the date of the next visit. Yeah? So usually that will be, I'll tick yes at the end of visit 3 if I think they're okay. I'll have a visit 4 date already in the system, and the college then will book an assessment visit 5 to 7 weeks after that visit 4 date. If I don't think they'll pass, then I tick no, and no visit gets booked. They're always at the trainee's main practice, and they're not changeable. So once they're booked, they're in the diary, short of some major disaster. Once it's booked, everyone gets this email. So the trainee, me, and you as a supervisor get the email, and this tells you when it's booked and tells you some responsibilities. So the college are going to provide patience for this. The assessor is going to bring the paperwork. So paperwork I will bring along is all my assessment documentation, things I'm going to write down my notes on, but also a eye examination record form that the trainee is going to use to write their eye exam on. Contact lens aftercare and contact lens fit records, again, that the trainee is going to use. So I will bring that paperwork with me. As a supervisor, you need to make sure there's a room available, and you need to make sure that there are enough soft contact lenses for us to play with. That's not a problem in any practice I've ever been in. And the trainee will need to make sure they've got all the patient records that are on the stage 2 patient episode sheet ready for us to have a look at, and made sure that they've got their completed logbook available as well. So as a stage 2 assessor, I'm going to watch the trainee do an eye examination. I'm going to watch them do a soft contact lens fit, a soft contact lens aftercare, and I'm going to look at the 8 units of competence, overarching competencies. And I'm going to check that their minimum eye exam and dispensing numbers are completed. So if we look at that in a bit more detail, we're going to start off with a direct observation. So assessor arrives in the practice, and about the same time, there's a patient that arrives in the practice as well. So this is a presbyopic patient that the college has paid to turn up. The assessor will take that patient into a consulting room, spend 15 minutes looking at them so we know what the trainee should find. I'm going to call the trainee. Trainee gets then 45 minutes to do an eye exam on this patient. And they can do it however they like. You know, if they want to use a Fruct head, that's fine. They want to use indirect or direct, that's their choice. Whatever they want. Anything we must see them do is must see them do ret, but otherwise it's their choice what's in that routine eye exam. By the end of that, so we're now an hour into the process, we're going to send our presbyopic patient away, and our contact lens patient should have arrived in the practice. So now I'm going to take that patient into the room, 15 minutes for them, having a look at what the trainee should find. This contact lens wearer will arrive wearing a pair of contact lenses. I'm going to get them to take out one contact lens. And then we'll call our trainee in, and they've now got 40 minutes to do a fit on one eye, hopefully the one we've taken the contact lens out of. It is tricky to remember sometimes, but anyway, we'll do that fit, and we'll do an aftercare on the other eye. So this is a soft contact lens patient. So it's a soft fit and a soft aftercare. 40 minutes to do both elements in. In terms of the fit, we're going to tell them that history and symptoms have been taken, it's all normal, and that the eye's healthy, they don't need to check that. So basically all they're doing is taking any measurements they want to take to pick a lens of first choice when they've been given the Ks and the spectacle refraction, and then assessing the fit of the contact lens once they put it in, and stain checking the patient when they take the lens out just for safety, and then aftercare, pretend it's a new patient, do a full aftercare routine. Again, they can do whatever they want to, but you must see them do some form of tear film assessment in that visit. By the time we finish that, we were an hour and 55 into the process of this stage 2 assessment. And at this point, then your trainee gets kicked out of the room again. They get another 5-minute break. We'll be sitting there thinking about what we've seen. So from the observation I've seen, is there anything I want to clarify? Anything that they've done that I think I need to check about that and the record cards? I have that in my head. and then we'll call the training back in and we'll start working our way through the 8 units of competence, the overarching competencies. And that's when we start looking at secondary evidence, so the patient records that they're going to show us, field plots, images, case scenarios, questions, all that kind of stuff. And again, it's important that we're fair and equitable. So we're all trying to assess the same things to the same standards. So we do that by making sure all the same checks that we've got for stage 1 of the process are in place, plus we've got really strict guidance on how we do stage 2. So they're all assessed the same plan. We all do eye exam first, then contact lenses, then the overarching competencies. There is no choice in it. The number and the type of records we look at are specified for us and strictly controlled. That we have scripts we have to follow when we're instructing the patient about their contact lens aftercare and their fit and what have you. And we all judge against the same strict pass-fail criteria. So, for example, how it might work on the day. So, 6.1. So for this, we have to sample 3 record cards. We have no choice. And these will come from the patient episode sheet for stage 2. And there's 7 or 8 different records we could pick from that list, but we've got to pick 3. And we'll use a case-based discussion around those 3. We also have to present 3 images. And we have an image bank at the college that we all use the same images. The other part of this is that often in the direct observation, the eye exam bit, they might do something that's a bit wacky. Not necessarily failure on its own, but it's a bit wacky. So you think, is that their normal practice? Do they do that? Or they might, I don't know, let's say they forget to avert lids. There we go. They might forget to avert lids. We were talking about that earlier on. Fine. So then you look at their record cards while you're doing this bit and see if they actually avert lids. And if they do, then you're probably going to let them off for forgetting to do it during the direct observation, because you've got evidence it was probably just an exam nerve. If they don't avert lids, then they've failed. So our direct observation and our secondary evidence back each other up, which again is an advantage over going to the stage to assess these in the final assessment where it was one shot. If you did it wrong on the day, that was it, you'd had it. Well, now we've got a way of checking what you really do in practice. So it is useful. Once we've assessed all of our competencies, it's going to take maybe 4 hours, between 3.5 to 4 hours. Then we've got to judge our trainee, unfortunately, again, to try and work out whether they have achieved or not achieved. And we'll do that for the routine exam, the soft contents fitting aftercare, and then for each overarching competency. And no one's trying to fail you trainee. No one's going to try and fail them for 1 or 2 small mistakes. What we're talking about failing for really big, chunky, dangerous, nasty things. Okay? So there's 2 reasons that you might fail up there. There's only 3 we can choose. Okay? So they can show an important deficiency in technique which could lead to significantly inappropriate management. So if they do that, then we can fail them for it. They fail to detect, recognise or act upon significant symptoms, history or clinical signs. Again, that would be a reason to fail. And the third one is compromise the safety of the patient by action, inadequate record keeping and or management. So they're not little mistakes, these are big things. Okay? We're not there to fail people if we can help it. So once we've decided, we've made this judgment, have they passed or failed, then the assessor is going to leave the practice without telling your trainee whether they passed or failed. And that's entirely deliberate, because what we don't want to do is to put the assessor in the position of having to tell a trainee they've failed and maybe not wanting to do it and therefore passing them when they shouldn't really. And I think that's only right, because this is quite an important juncture for people. There's no, they need a reset. It's not like a stage 1 assessment where you've got another visit in 4 weeks' time to catch it up. So they're going to leave the practice and they're going to go in and write up the assessment report. And the assessment report for a fail would come back like this. So it'd tell them they failed, tell them the big reason why, and then they'd get some very specific feedback about exactly why they failed. So once the assessor goes away, fills in the assessment report online, hits the button, then if it's pass, the trainee and the supervisor are going to get a congratulations email with details of how to enter the OSCEs. If it's fail, you'll see the form that we just sent. So reasons for fail and the feedback. Okay? And then there are various different sorts of fails and resets. So if you fail one of the overarching competencies, so the kind of theory part, if you like, then you will reset all of those overarching competencies. You don't need to do the practical bit again. If you were to fail, say, contact lenses, the direct observation of contact lenses, then you will reset the direct observation of the contact lens bit. But if you've passed the overarching competencies, that's fine. We won't look at those again, except that there is an element of each of these overarching competencies which we get from watching your direct observation of your contact lenses. So this is history taking, giving information, and record keeping, and law, and there's all sorts of stuff. So we leave those in. What we're not saying is that when you have a reset, just because you've failed the contact lens direct observation, we're going to really go to town on all those as well. What we are saying is it gives us an opportunity to, again, check your practice. So if I've seen you do a direct observation, I can now think, well, do you really do that? Or I'll just sample the record and make sure you actually do that. So again, it gives me a way of almost giving you a second chance, like we talked of before. So that's contact lens one. Similar thing for failing routine. So it's routine and whichever competencies relate to it. And then any combination of the above.